with Collins Harlan.
Welcome to Hire Away. Hire Away, a show where we talk about jobs. We talk about business, but more importantly, we talk to the people that are operating those businesses and doing those jobs. People with real skin in the game. I'm Collins. I'm a staffing specialist with Labor Finders. And in St. Louis, we have a North County branch, we have a South County branch, but we have branches all over the country. So if you're hiring and if you're looking for workers, all you have to do is go to laborfinders.com. That's laborfinders.com. Find the branch nearest you, call us up, and we'll help you out. So today on the show, we're talking with David Q. David is one of the co-founders of Faith Brothers Financial, and he's going to tell you what that is. But the reason he's on the show is he's tapped into a demographic of workers that are really serious and have been really effective. So if you're hiring, and especially if you're looking for workers in St. Louis, David's going to be a great contact for you. So enough of that, enough of me yakking. Let's do it.
Hire away!
So Dave, welcome. You've become quite the fixture, quite well known in the St. Louis not-for-profit sector, but I'm assuming that didn't happen overnight. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got there, what you did before and how you got to where you are now?
First of all, Collins, I want to thank you for allowing me to be your guest today on Hire Away. I got my beginning here in St. Louis in education. I was a school teacher in the Lindbergh School District, as well as became an assistant principal.
You were a teacher?
Yeah, I was a teacher. Still am today. Today I work at Gateway Science Academy, but my way into the non-for-profit world started back in 2016 and 17. A friend of mine that I met, his mother called me and said, I don't think my son's going to make it. Can you please get to St. Anthony's Hospital? And so I did.
Wow,
And when I got there, I met his brother, and his brother and I would talk for several hours about alcoholism and the effects of it. And his brother realized that, his brother that was in surgery definitely had issues with alcohol. And when the surgeon came out, he said, we had to take part of his brain out. And so I felt saddened by that. And the surgeon said, if blood rushes back into his brain, he most likely will will not make it. And so that weekend, I went to see Matt, is his name, and I was just, I just couldn't believe what I saw. I saw that, yes, he had a scar on the side of his head. His wife was there, and she looked like she had taken on a lot, looked like just worn out.
Horrible.
And then his son came over to look at him.
His son?
Yes.
Oh, man.
And couldn't believe what he was seeing. And as I stepped out, it was hard for me to watch. I heard a voice, which I would say was the Holy Spirit, who said, that could have been you. That
Wow.
could have been me.
Huh.
So as I began to ponder what had happened and how it affected me, his brother asked me, he said, is there something you can do about alcoholism? And I said, well, I think people are going to continue to drink, but one of the things I can do, I can get a team of people around me and begin to work on ways to help people when they come out of treatment be able to find their way back. And so I started what was called the Q Academy.
The Q Academy?
The Q Academy. So
why do they call it? Well, obviously,
it's my last name.
but didn't you call it the Q Ball Express?
Well, that's the old name on Facebook and YouTube.
Gotcha.
And just something I go with. But the Q Academy was full of resources for people to get back working again, find out about education opportunities, finance, and I got a team of people around me that helped me And I had a couple really good writers, and I would pay them. And they were under contract with me, and I made sure that things were right. I had editors look at the materials. The booklet was fantastic, but one of the guys that worked with us said, you know what, I think pamphlets would even be better. So we had a pamphlet that we put together that when I showed it to some pastors, they said, you know what, this is really effective because it kind of gives you the steps you need to get going again. And so several churches bought the pamphlets. And so that turned out really good, really, really good.
So you were working. So you started as a teacher. You had this, I guess, what I would call a religious experience. I don't know what else you would call it.
Yeah, it was definitely that. I mean, I definitely, I grew up definitely in the church, and I had given my life to Christ. But seeing what had happened to this young man, it really affected me tremendously. And
then, of course, you connected with and so you did what you could. You formed the Q Academy,
right?
And then you mentioned the pamphlet, and then you mentioned churches. Did you find that was, it sounds like that would be a really successful way to reach some of these people you're trying to help?
Well, we did through Celebrate Recovery. A lot of these churches, you have AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and then Celebrate Recovery it kind of mirrors some of that. And so the church thought, several churches really liked the pamphlets. I took a team of guys. We went out to Adult Teen Challenge out in High Ridge, and we actually sat down with some guys and coached them, and that was real effective too. So eventually we would go ahead and, with the help of the board, we would merge the Q Academy with Amare Recovery in Wood River, Illinois, because we wanted to reach more people. And so they took our hard drive and all the information we had and made it a part of what they were doing. And so we were excited about that, because what they were doing was getting into hospitals when people had overdosed. And I thought, that's exactly where we want to be. We want to be right there when the iron's hot.
That's how it started. That's almost full circle.
Yeah. So after we joined with Amare, I met a friend. We would, at one point in my life, I lived in Soulard, and I would have coffee with this guy, and his name was Bob Smith. And he was big in finance, and I wanted to do something. I could see that finance was really one of the critical areas to really get your life going again. You got to get on a budget. And so Bob and I formed what was called Faith Brothers Financial Services, and we started going back into the Salvation Army, ARC, and really, really focusing on helping these guys think about living below their means, establishing an emergency fund, tracking their money, and living on a budget. And that is key.
I'm glad we got to this point, because I really want to focus on the ARC program and how you've worked with the ARC program.
Yeah.
Because as you know, Labor Finders has been there many times to speak to your graduating classes.
Yes.
And it's been a great help to Labor Finders, but I can see that it's a transformational experience for these students, is what I guess I'll call them. But what can you tell us about that program? It takes a person who is ready to go into recovery, I guess, homeless, perhaps. Is that right?
Yes. There's various reasons. Some are homeless, some are court ordered, some go in on their own, and it's a 6-month program. If you choose to stay, they offer a variety of opportunities for these guys. It's their work therapy program where they get donations from the community, and the guys go through the donations and then they have their Salvation Army stores, and that's what the stores help fund the ARC program.
And they work at the stores while they're in recovery?
They work various jobs. Some are in the kitchen there, some are in the warehouse, maybe some might be at the store. So it's various experiences that the men have. It's just depending on their abilities. But our whole focus on these men when they leave is to try to get them a place to live, a job, and then we talk about transportation, and we also talk about money. talking about how to, what are you going to do? What we find is, like many of us, we spend everything we make, and then wonder why we don't have anything.
Tell me about it.
And so trying to rethink, what's the SMART goal? How can I set goals? How can I hit those goals? And how can I establish an emergency fund instead of going out and putting things on credit card or asking a friend or a parent for money?
Credit cards will kill you. They'll sink you.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so you have a reserve that's there, and then living on a budget and being disciplined. The whole thing of what we try to really focus on: take action, follow through, and consistency. If you do those three things, you're going to be fairly successful, And I tell the guys there's only one of three things that can happen to us. Either we're going to sober up or clean up, they're going to lock us up, or they're going to cover us up.
That's very true.
One of three things. We hope that you want to clean up and sober up. You got to change. You've got to change your places and people that you hang with, and you got to hang around the winners. You got to go with the doers.
And to my knowledge, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, to actually get into the program, you have to be able to pass a drug test.
That's true.
Or they won't let you in until you at least can pass a drug test.
That's right.
Which to me is a great starting point, because it weeds out the people that haven't hit rock bottom yet, aren't serious about recovery.
That's right.
So Faith Brothers Financial is kind of like a wraparound service for the ARC, right?
It's as they beginning to leave the last stages of the program. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, first of all, not only thank you for coming on, because that's great, but thank you for making labor finders a part of Faith Brothers Financial via the ARC program. Because the workers that we've gotten through your program, well, the ARC program, but in conjunction with Faith Brothers, they've been very effective, and they're serious. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I talk to the guys there in your classes at Salvation Army, I'm always telling them that one of the things hiring managers are always telling me is that they just want somebody who's going to show up, somebody who's going to do their job, somebody who's going to be serious about work. And to be honest, that's hard to find these days. So I always tell the people in your class, they have an advantage because they are serious about work. They're on an upward trajectory. And then they have Faith Brothers behind them to help them when they do get a job. That's fantastic.
Well, I think they've reached a point where many of them, as you look out into the crowd, are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
That's probably where you need to be to change.
I need to change. I think people get honest with themselves and say, I have a problem. I think they are open-minded. I think and they're willing. The whole thrust of recovery is action, follow through, and consistency. I mean, a lot of people get so far and then they stop. Mm-hmm. And if you're not careful, you go back to what you know and you're right back there again. So you have to want it. You have to be self-disciplined. You've got to, you got to go with the people doing it. And if you do that, you're going to be all right, and
you're at least going to be better off than where you were. Yeah.
That's right. And so we talk about hitting recovery meetings, whether it's Celebrate Recovery, whether it's one of the AANA meetings, but we also talk about trying to get into a good church that you run with some different people than the buddies back where you come from. And then get involved in the community in a positive way, some civic organization, whether it be the Rotary Club, the Lions Club. Do something. Don't just do nothing, because if you just sit there in your apartment, those four walls are going to start coming in, and you're going to start, those thoughts come in. So you need to get out there and be available.
Right.
I just believe that God will use ordinary people like you and me, Collins, to do extraordinary things if we're available to help people. I mean,
you got to put yourself in that position.
You got to put yourself out there. And if you do that, you just never know who God has for you. And say, God, use me. And then all of a sudden somebody shows up,
Well, I love your program. And I've heard you talk to the gentlemen. And one of the things you've always said to them is surround yourself with winners. Hang out with winners.
That's right, baby. Yeah. Hang out with the winners. That's true.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But I also think that the find a church, that's a good idea, because if you're not serving, and I'm not trying to get religious, I don't, everybody has their own religious beliefs. But if you think about it, the human condition, if you're not serving something higher than yourself, you just kind of fall onto default, which is not a very good place to be.
Oh.
You kind of surrender to your whims. You start to get greedy. You start to get lazy.
That's right.
Yeah. So
that's right.
Is that part of why you tell them to?
Yeah, I tell them to, get around, just good things that, that are out there. Do not get attracted to the negative, because it'll bring you back down again,
Well, I'm obviously thrilled with the program. It's really benefited labor finders, but I really hope it's benefiting. I can tell it's benefiting them. And I hope you're getting a lot of satisfaction out of it based on the story you just told us about how this all started.
Yeah, next Thursday, September 18th, we have a Health is Wealth and Wellness Fair that we've been working on with Love in Action. Faith Brothers Financial and Love in Action have been working together with the ARC, with Samantha and Jesse Links, who run the ARC. And so we have a big fair coming up, and we're excited about it. We have people from vendors from all over St. Louis.
Where's it going to be?
It's going to be at the ARC there on Forest Park.
Oh, right there at the
Parkway.
Salvation Army. Okay.
Right, from 5 until 7, and we're looking forward just to meet individuals right where they're at.
That's interesting. I've heard that said before. What does that mean?
Meeting people right where they're at. You just never know. What somebody needs. Instead of you need to stop and listen. Be slow to speak and quick to listen, and just listen to see what is possible. What can I possibly do to help that person, to try to meet a need that they might have? And maybe, just maybe, you've answered a prayer.
Good point.
My wife and I were going down old 141, and this guy had a grocery cart from Walmart, and he was coming up the sidewalk. And I said to my wife, I'm telling you, did you just see that? It looked like he was really struggling. She goes, I did. So we turned around and we stopped. We said, are you okay? He goes, man, I've been praying that somebody would stop and help.
But that's just what you said. That's case in point. Yeah.
He had eggs and milk, and he still had another mile to go.
Hot out.
It was hot.
Yeah.
And so we met a need. And he goes, can I pay you? I said, no. We're just glad. We're just here. We're just making ourselves available to be of help. And if you do that, you just never know,
That's really amazing. But that comes from putting yourself in a position where you're serving something higher than yourself.
That's right.
And again, we don't want to get too religious on the program, but it is what it is. It just, human nature is what it is. So.
Well, I truly believe that, you don't know if you're going to see tomorrow, and all you really have is today. And so if you live like this was the last day you're going to be here, you have to make yourself available. I hope I live a lot longer than this today, obviously, and I make plans for that. But I've learned to lower the expectations of others, that way I don't get upset.
Meaning the expectations you have
of others.
Okay, gotcha.
I have high expectations of myself and what I'm going to do, but when I put high expectations on somebody else and they don't meet those expectations, then you get angry, you get upset, at least I do. And so, and then I also kind of live, I wear my garment loosely, so to speak, so that, if things have to change, they can change. I can go a different direction.
Remain flexible.
Sure. That's it. Yeah.
So one other thing I'd like to talk about is an organization, I think you mentioned it, with a gentleman named Cedric Love in Action.
Yeah, Cedric Robinson and Love in Action. That's right.
Can you talk a little bit about what that is and how you guys are working together?
Well, we met each other at CBMC, Christian Businessmen's Connection.
Mm-hmm.
We have a group of guys that meet down at Have a Cow.
Have a Cow?
Have a Cow Cafe.
Well, we might as well plug them. What is Have a Cow?
It's an upscale breakfast in Lafayette Square area. It's very good, excellent food, great owner. And we have a men's group, and we do a Bible study, and it's men that are all winners from all various sections, but mainly they're businessmen. And I met Cedric through that. He had Love in Action at the time. I had the Q Academy. But I just kept going because those are the men I wanted to be around. I wanted to be around guys that are moving forward.
You're practicing what you preach.
That's
when you
right.
tell guys to surround yourself with winners.
Yeah, with winners. And so then Cedric and I, we had an opportunity to branch off from CBMC, and we still, go there. I go there in the summer all the time, but during the school year, I work at Gateway Science Academy, so I can't go. But we started at what's called Iron Sharpens Iron. And
I love that saying.
Yeah, iron, and it's good. It's on Saturday mornings, there's a Zoom, and men from all over the United States get on that Zoom call.
Oh, wow.
And they there's a check-in to make sure you're okay. And then there's a teaching, and then there's the after party of just chopping it up with each other. But Cedric and I, we do last Thursdays where we invite others to come down to their office in Soulard, and we culminate that with Thursday night football.
It's a great idea. That boosts attendance.
Yeah, and so we have a lot of fun with that. And then we have just kind of worked together on some things. And so it's, he and I, we just kind of click. And so we're doing some things together, and we hope that we can do some aftercare with the Salvation Army and really help some of these guys that really want to get going again.
I think that's fantastic. So getting back to, the Salvation Army program, the ARC, and these gentlemen that you work with, we work obviously with a lot of, manufacturers, construction companies, hospitality, you name it. We're a one-stop shop. But if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, was interested in maybe hiring some of these folks, obviously they could call Labor Finders, but typically it'd be better if they just got in touch with you.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that'd be fine.
So how do they do that?
They can just reach out to me. My phone number is 314-596-6280.
Okay.
And then my personal email is drdave615@gmail.com.
I'm going to repeat that for you just one more time in case somebody wanted to catch that. Dave can be reached at 314-596-6280, or you can email Dave at Dr. Dave. Let's just repeat that, drdave615@gmail.com. So, and of course, if you want to get a hold of Labor Finders, we can always get in touch with David for you, but that's the best thing to do. Just get in touch with David directly, and he'll help you out. So before we go, I think we should mention Robert Smith again.
Yeah.
He would have liked to have been here.
Yeah.
But he's in New York on his yacht.
Yeah, that is correct. Bob.
Lucky Robert.
Yeah, he is he's got a CPA, and he worked for Anheuser-Busch for years, and was able to retire. He got into real estate investment, and was able to, during the pandemic, couldn't go anywhere, so he was able to save some of the proceeds from his rentals and was able to purchase a yacht by using SMART goals, and so it's exciting to see that he's able to get out on the Lake Ontario, and
it sounds beautiful.
And just, it's a bucket thing for him, a bucket list he's always wanted to do, and he's back there with his mom, and he's helping her move to be with his brother down in Tampa, Florida. So they're selling the property there in Buffalo or Wilson, New York. So, he's really living out a dream that he's always had. And so he's been, we kind of feed on each other, and, we have fun when we're working together, and he's a really good presenter, and his whole thing is live on the budget. He's a budget.
Passes that on to the students.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll have him on when he's back in town.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That'll be great. But in the meantime, David, thank you for coming on. What you do is it's really needed. You're doing God's work, and we benefit from it as a company, Labor Finders, but these people that you work with, you're a godsend to them. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you, Collins, for having me. I enjoyed this time with you, and thank you so much.
Get you on again soon.
See ya.
All right. Well, that was today's show, and thanks for tuning in. It was a great guest, David. You're going to want to tune in next week because we're going to have somebody from Vogel Heating and Cooling on, and let me tell you, she's a firecracker. Vogel Heating and Cooling, well-respected company in St. Louis. If you live in St. Louis, I doubt you haven't heard of Vogel Heating and Cooling. So tune in for that next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for the job of the week. Take care.